So can you see everybody? Yeah, right. So yeah, so this is Tycho. This is a project that we mentioned. It's a collaboration between Gemma Wilmer and Gemma Wilmer and Summer Holiday and myself, and we built this back in 2016. And I will talk about it later a bit more. This is now just to say this is what's going to be about later. So more about myself for now. So I'm a Berlin-based artist. I work on a media art project, and I have this background in space, science, and technology. And I also like to connect places and people and different topics and fields with another. So for example, here in this work, Berlin Calling, which took place at the in Hong Kong at the ICEA 2016, I made a large-scale video on the ICC tower there, which is a 500-meter tall building that transmitted the message "Hi" in Morse code visually over there, and to establish a connection between the artist community there and me as an artist and my collaborator Marcel Schwittlik at that time. From there, I also realized at some point that, you know, in order to actually really establish connections for longer, it's probably a good idea to have some sort of format that you can like go with, or that you can like, yeah, basically I created a format, a hackathon format that plays around with space and art and invites people from different backgrounds to ideate on that and to yeah, see what they can come up with. This initiative is called Sparth, and I did like a hackathon in Bangalore in 2017 with the Goethe Institute, and it was a really nice event. We had really great projects coming out of this, and afterwards, when I came back to Berlin, I started a space art community, probably a little bit similar to Cosmic Tribe, but with a real like space art focus. And so I had a couple of events there in a space, in a venue where we gathered, and yeah, we could like just explore the work of others. And I will also have a symposium in December, end of November, beginning of December this year, about the Moon-Mars topic, which yeah, will take place within like on a weekend. Just check the website of Sparth maybe at some point for updates if you want, or my own website. For my artistic work, I thought I selected a few projects that are very particularly working with space and outer space. So this is a project again, which I made also in India for a festival, and it combines custom-made cube satellites that I created with sensors inside, and on top of that, there was like an augmented reality layer, a mission control panel, which you can see on this slide, and this like main satellite where there was a connect, and it basically sent over a video feed that was modified and visually made kind of like more appealing or whatever in the mission control panel, and it was all like an interconnected experience. So and this was based on a mission of Indian Space Agency. And then I took this project further, or parts of this project further, and I started a collaboration, which resulted in this like Now a Kinetic Life project with Bidisha Das, where we made this like synthesizer that was feeding like data from different, from the space, from the nature, and from the human body, from these three spaces, and combined them in an audiovisual or in a audio live experience where Bidisha used it to play live sounds. And I'm showing all these 3 projects in a row because they are kind of part of this research project where I try to explore the possibilities of working with outer space inspired and space technology inspired art. So like, what materials and shapes can I use, and how is this like transformable and presentable in a gallery space? Another project that I wanted to mention here is the Moon Gallery, which I'm part of with a proposal that is called Ida and Dactyl, which is this like mirrored cube, which you can see in the center here. And the Moon Gallery itself is basically a really small gallery that is supposed to go on the moon on the back of a rover in 2 or 3 years from now, with a European Space Agency mission. And this project of mine is part of it, and I think it's a really great initiative that I just want to give a little bit more credit here. Another project, this is also the latest, the last one here that I want to show, is just give you a little bit of an overview of what I'm currently working on and where I'm headed with my art. And I'm currently actually really excited about this project because next week I'm starting a residency for the next 2-3 months where we're really working on this more. And the Slide Edge project is like, again, playing with space and augmented reality, but not so much on a specific outer space focus, but on a broader space that we are part of and surrounded by. So this is, and then on top of that, a virtual layer. So this is this, but now let's go back to Tycho. And let's maybe start with the video first, because I'm not sure everybody has seen it yet. So we'll quickly play that, if that's okay. I just need to move that here so that I can play that. Come on. There you go. Yeah, so again, this is Tycho. I hope it is running well over the internet right now. So
we can't hear the sound, but I think you should share the sound as well.
Oh, you mean the sound? Yeah, well, it's not so, yeah, it would be nicer for the atmosphere, but I forgot to turn it on right now so that it's possible, and I'm not sure where it is. So it's just atmospheric at this point, so I think it's okay. Let's just go through. So anyway, this Tycho, it's based on the James Webb Space Telescope, or inspired by it, and it transfers basically the color of the object that's in front of us onto the projection. Here in the back, you see the projection on the mirror from the back side, and on the front is like a camera that detects basically, for example, if I have like wearing my hoodie here, my orange or red hoodie, and I stay in front of it, as you can here see in this demonstration with the phone, the LED picks up that, or the camera picks up that color and then sends it in intervals over and colors the sequence of videos that you see on the surface, which is based on the death and birth of stars, as you already explained it, right? So that is Tycho, and to give you a little bit more information about, wait, what's that? Oh, where is it? No. I had it prepared, but where is it gone? Okay, I'll quickly have to go there because I don't think it. No, crap. There you go. Ah, there it is. Full screen. So just this is an older presentation that we made at some point when we presented the project. So as I said, it's based, the whole shape of the object and also the kind of like functionality that it mimics in a way is based on the James Webb Space Telescope, which is constructed by mostly NASA with some contribution from the European Space Agency and others. And it's going to replace the Hubble Space Telescope I mean, this slide says October 2018. This is not true because it's still not there. So it's going to be there in 2021, this year, hopefully in October. That's the latest schedule. And yeah, it's going to be a real game changer for us to look into like the real like beginnings of our universe and how yeah, what happened there. So why we called our project Tycho is it's based on the Tycho Brahe, who is like a Danish astronomer and astrologer from the 16th century. I think most people probably, especially in the circumstances here of this talk, know him. And he is the first one who actually observed a supernova and gave it also the name back in 1572. And so that was really kind of like obvious to take him into credit for that. We then collected some reference images of supernovae that we could find. These are really like supernova 1987A is a really, for example, popular one, I'd say. We kind of used this Chandra thing in our the Tycho SN 1572, actually, the remainings of the supernova that are here based on an image from the Chandra satellite. And yeah, and then we built this mirror ourselves in a smaller version, because obviously our Tycho isn't 6.5 meters, but just like 120 in size, but it has the same amount of mirrors, at least. Actually, one more in the center, I think. Yeah, and then we used the laser cutter to produce our parts. We made testing just like, I mean, on the right side, you see like a test chamber from NASA, and on the left is our little test setup to find out like the material qualities and everything. And yeah, we built these LED stripes, just giving you a little bit of an insight into the process here, because not everybody is an artist or technology-based person, so maybe that's interesting to the one or the other. We used Illustrator, Blender, After Effects, Processing, Mapper, and Fade Candy as like technologies and electronics. Yeah, this is just shapes that we made. The whole setup, the whole footage was created in After Effects by Gemma Wilmer, who's like also a really talented visual artist. Soma was responsible for the LED and programming part. And yeah, this is us like mapping, testing the mapping, and yeah, Fade Candy. That's, as I said, it's getting very technical here, but this maybe gives you a little bit of an idea. So on the top, we have the user input color, as I said, my sweater, that goes into the webcam, that goes into a processing sketch, which is this like programming language that's very popular amongst artists. That goes then into the Fade Candy chip, which is responsible for the LED controlling. And another part goes into another processing sketch that then controls the mapping and the ripple effect that we like have over as an overlay. And then everything comes out on a projector and comes together in this gallery space. And that's basically it. And then I think I'm open to questions.
Yes.
So Thomas, I mean, yeah, it's seeing the process, I think it clears a lot of things, because, you know, when I was seeing your project, you know, I had a lot of questions that, you know, it's a mimicry of something which is there, but again, it's an art project. So how, you know, that came about it. But yeah, that gave us a very good insight. And you mentioned something about the space that, you know, these days you're working around a new domain of a space, right? So how has that journey been for you? because considering from where I see your projects, you started from a very scientific understanding of space, which is about the astronomy and a lot of science and a lot of facts going into your work. So I mean, that would be nice for you to tell a bit about your journey, or how maybe the definition of space has changed for you. Because I mean, for as an artist, you think about a one word in many different ways, maybe. So that would be interesting to know where that is going.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, there have been lots of stages in my development, probably at this point in my career. I actually started as a painter. That's what I studied. And I think this is also something that still has is coming back in like how I, think about an artwork and how I think about shapes and colors and the aesthetics of things. I think it's really like relevant. But at some point I also felt a little bit limited in that. And then I started going into space because you don't really do that with a painting, right? You were always like bound to the frame of the canvas. And after experimenting a little bit with different formats like performances and stuff like that, I just realized that I needed something that where my interests come together to keep me like in motivated over like a long time, right? And I always was like, I don't have a background, like a scientific background. I don't have a scientific education, but I have a great interest in it ever since I'm a child, and specifically in outer space phenomena. And so I at some point realized that it would be really good for me to try to bring these two things together. And then that was at around this time, 2015, 2016. And Tycho was really like a game changer for me in that sense, this project. And then I followed that path for the next 3-4 years, pretty, let's say, like strictly, and tried to really always think in terms of like, how can I bring outer space experiences into the gallery space or the urban space or whatever, but how to interconnect different spaces. And lately, during Corona, mostly then also in the first pandemic, right, when we were already constrained in how we actually could interact with space, I really had this strong, first of all, I really realized that I need physical space and virtual space together. I'm not just happy with one, like I can't just do stuff for the screen. That's like kind of boring to me and I don't like it. Just like I also, find it like not satisfying to just work on a canvas and paint. It's just not me. Totally different for other people, right? But for my practice, that's really important. And then I realized also that thinking always about outer space was limiting me a little bit too much, because I kind of always tried to, I had ideas that I would, kind of suppress inside of me because I thought, oh, they're not outer space related. Or I was kind of like, how can I get the outer space in here? And at some point I realized this is not really good. And I tried to find a solution for that keeps me on this path, but opens up for other possibilities. And that's where I realized it's about a broader understanding of space. And it doesn't necessarily strictly need to be outer space. It can be about our relation as humans in a specific space, in a specific setup.
Yeah, because it can be about a lot of different meanings attached to the idea of space at the same time, right?
Yes.
And I think that is very interesting when you shared, I mean, throughout the projects that you have discussed so far, like even that kinetic life, I see that you are working and you are interested with the idea of space, but you are kind of maybe expressing it or kind of using it in a different way, right? And that I think is very interesting. But like if I talk about the journey and how you have kind of transformed your understanding and maybe learned a few things, and you added on and built up on that understanding. So how important is it, like I'm just asking you as an artist and how you brainstorm about ideas, that how important is it that you use factual science in it? Because I understand, because my understanding is that you are very curious about scientific things, but like you said that, you don't have a past in science.
Mhm.
And I can totally relate with that thing, because I'm personally interested in anatomy, but I'm not a medical person, right? So how realistic, like I want to understand how important is it for you that the artwork like Tycho retains the scientific or the factual meaning, or maybe it becomes abstract? Like maybe you can talk more about that.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think it goes into two directions. On the one hand, as an artist, I have the possibility to look at the scientific stuff and methods and so on, or methodologies differently. I can use them in a different way that they were not intended to, right? Or are not intended to, and that kind of creates a new perspective that is maybe very relevant to scientists in an unexpected way. And I'm not really bound to the constraints that comes with conducting real science. But on the other hand, also, I mean, I'm trying to also, keep a little bit of artistic research involved in my artwork, because I think there is always like a need for a little bit of a like conceptual background in a piece, some thought of like some thought behind it. That is important for me. And then I think it's a lot about the collaboration process and the communication with actual scientists. That is something that I really like to also, kind of expand on in the future. I really think there's a lot for both sides to gain. But then again, I'm not actually, it's not necessarily science that I conduct.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, Tycho is a project that stands as a physical object, like you shared, there was a lot of making, and then digital, intervention is going in. And it's an object that stands in a physical space, right? Maybe it kind of goes back and forth from virtual to physical. So I'm also interested in knowing like how people responded to your project, and how, because considering there is this connection with NASA and what's to come and our future and all of these ideas, right? Because it's going to change how we view and how our images are going to be produced, right? Maybe like we get more high resolution images, like how we view the universe is going to change, right? So there are a lot of ideas that are associated with your project, and it makes us think about all of these things very successfully. So I just want to know like what kind of impact has it generated for people, or maybe like what's the response? Was it like, most of the artworks are very emotionally driven, people respond to them in a very emotional way, but this is science. So I just want to know where that balance is created.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's perceived very well, considering the fact that we 5 years after making the piece still talk about it, which is really something like is not always the case for all my projects, right? So I'm very happy about that. It's also, for example, supposed to be shown here in Berlin again in August at a tech conference, which hopefully happens. But we'll see about that. It was already postponed last year to this year. So it's very tricky situation. But yeah, just the fact that it's still triggering people and kind of like makes them curious about science as well as arts. This is something that's really nice, and I've seen that and heard that like often, so yeah, it's really a good piece in that sense.
For sure. No, I agree, because when I actually saw your project for the first time, this is something that I actually thought that it's a very successful collaboration, because again, it has a physical structure, it has this mirrors thing, and then you explained how you were able to kind of do the sizing and entire thing. So it's very interesting that a scientific phenomena exists, but then it has translated into an art piece, which is relative for scientists. It is relevant for an artist. It is relevant for anyone who is just looking for a visual treat, you know. So I think it is doing all of that. So
Yeah, thank you.
that is I think success on many
Yeah,
levels.
thank you. Yeah, I think that's true to say. It's on a journey, and that's like what I mean, kind of a satellite does as well, right? I mean, even though James Webb Space Telescope basically just stays where it is on a, but anyway, you get the metaphor.
Okay,
Yeah, so
I have one question. Yes.
yeah.
Okay, sorry. I have one question because my interest is in astronomy. I studied astrophysics. My background is from, if you talk about the STEM, I worked on aircraft, and also I'm interested in art. So how do you think that this whole project as how do you get some investment, or how many people are interested in such kind of money to invest on this kind of project? Because that's very beautiful piece of artwork for sure, but at one point we find difficulties, that we have good ideas but we don't find right people. So how do you think that how many people are interested to invest money in this kind of projects? I know it's a little tricky.
It's I don't know, I can't answer that question, to be honest, but I can tell you that, I mean, that's a really tricky question for every artist in many stages of the career, right? And there's for every artist a different answer to that. And for me, for example, it means that I luckily, you know, have funding from, you know, fellowship programs and stuff like that, where that allow me to work. And I'm not like really in this like classical gallery artist kind of relationship. And then, I mean, you have that whole NFT hype at the moment, right? So there's a lot of money for some people to make, I guess. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it's, I guess you need to, first of all, need to have the will to do it, and then you'll find a way.
And it depends on the kind of artist you are, because I think the one definition or one answer cannot fit everyone.
Exactly.
Like these days, digital artists are just on a hype because the studios are locked, so maybe they are producing more work. But again, you know, it can never substitute something like what you are doing. It's conceptual, it has its own meaning, it has its own reason, and there's another audience for, you know, the kind of art that you are doing.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, I agree totally. Like, this is nothing you can like answer in general. It's something really specific to everybody who tries to achieve that goal of being sustainable and doing art.
So, Thomas, have you considered, like, considering these days it's a lockdown situation in most of the countries? So, have you considered going all digital, like considering that you have, you know, about Blender and these kind of software? So, I'm just considering, are you still trying to create that balance? Because you said that you are, you get bored with the virtual screen. So, you're trying to create that balance, right? I find it really hard to create that balance because I think I'm going all digital these days, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, me too. I mean, I have been like very, like, say, conceptual and digital in the last while. But now, as I said, I'm starting a residency where I'm gonna have like a really nice studio and I can physically work on stuff, which I'll definitely do and take advantage of. How that is gonna be presented to the audience in the end, that's another question, because as of now, it's like, I mean, still very limited, the whole exhibition experiences that we can have, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm training my, like, let's say I explore a lot of like technologies like Unity and Blender, and like I want to learn stuff in these times. But for me, I'm still hoping to, I also need this kind of like interaction with the audience. It's like kind of important to me, and just having everything passively happening is just like a bit sad for me. So yeah, I'm like what do you say? Jonglieren? Like, I don't know, like juggling, is that the word? I think
You're
with both
juggling.
worlds as much
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So like this the residency that you're currently part of or you're going to pursue, is it about the same project that you discussed, that it's going to talk about the physical and the virtual space at the same time? Like
Yeah,
that image that you shared.
exactly. It's this project that I shared in my first presentation, slides of presentation. The last two ones where you have these strings and then the objects to move around, which is something that I can replicate. For example, this is one of these like tricky situations. I can work on it. I can experiment on it. I can make it like, you know, a reality. But then the whole concept itself involves people touching these objects, for example. And then there's like, how do you deal with that under like COVID restrictions and stuff like that? So we'll see. We'll see. I guess I'll have to explore that further. But yeah, I mean, definitely always like for me, the luckily I'm not like a non-traditional artist in that sense, as I'm like already have been working with media as a media artist before, right? And I'm always like working virtually and or digitally and analog and in the last 10 years. So I just gonna keep doing that. But
I think that's the
probably
exciting part. Yeah, that's the I think being the exciting part of being the new media artist, because you know that's what I constantly try to do, getting inspired with new technology and kind of integrating it. But yeah, we are looking forward to your new project, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope it will be amazing.
Thank
I
you
hope
so
so too.
much. Yes. So we have Miss Shahira with us, and she is a stargazer, international dark sky advocate, and also member of IAAA. And her journey is all about stars to inspire new generation, because she is into education as well and posting a lot of art related to space on social media. And as I told you earlier, that her artwork glows in UV light. So it is something interesting to know what she's doing. And if you have any question related to Thomas artwork, so you can actually write down in the chat box. And let's start with Ms. Shahira. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. So just now we're talking about Thomas. We're talking about digital and using technology in arts, right? So now I'm talking about, like, I'm going back to traditional because I'm doing acrylic arts actually. So I'll be sharing my screen. Okay, if you can see this. Can you see this, everyone?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. All right. So pardon me if I get kind of delirious because it's very late. All right. So today I'll be talking about expressing light through arts. So I'll be doing some introduction about things that inspired me to make arts. So space and art, space has been capturing the imagination of astronomers and artists for years, for hundreds of years. And astronomy and arts have long-standing relationship, which means that artists and astronomers have been working together to capture, to see, to illustrate on natural phenomenon that has been happening in the night sky. Since astronomy is an intensely visual subject, so the astronomers need artists to illustrate the events that happen, to keep it as a record, or just if it's in nowadays in we are using those we need the artists to simulate the data. Yes. All right. So light from space. So things that has been inspired me to do space arts is actually when I look up at the night sky, see the stars, and those really motivate me to make something out of it, to express my passion. So these lights are a gentle flow of visual radiation that we call light. Also the stars, it can be from the stars, the planets, the galaxies, the nebulas. And this is all the things that we can see in the night sky right now from Earth is due to our unique and privileged location in the universe. Okay, so like I said, the lights can source from our solar system, like the planets, or if you keep updated to what happened in night sky, you can sometimes see the meteor shower, and that really fascinates everyone. Even though those are not into astronomy, but when we tell them that there will be a meteor shower going on in night sky, they'll be very fascinated. They want to see it, and that kind of drives them to get involved with astronomy. And the night sky has been those lights in the night sky is an important tool for timekeeping, navigation, and imagination. It triggers human brain to create stories out of the constellation night sky that can be about animals, about the warriors, the gods, and the night sky has been our the one of the thing that connect us to our ancestors. Because if you say if you can see the monuments, the drawings from people back then, it eventually perish away. But when you look up in the night sky, you are looking at the same sky that thousands of years ago, humans for thousands of years ago has been looking at. So that thing is very powerful. It shows that the night sky is your heritage and it connects you with your ancestors. So what do I mean when I say expressing the light? So through art, you can communicate ideas which enrich the culture and lead to advances of technology and visualizations. So when you look up in the night sky, you want to see more. The human back then, they want to see more. So they will create, they will innovate something that able them to see things that beyond what their eyes can see. And art allows and influences astronomers to see and interact with their data, in which enhance discovery science. And drawing on principles from art to create scientific visualizations, astronomers are able to see their work with a new perspective and share their discoveries with other scientists. And through arts, through merging astronomy with arts, it allows us to go beyond nature on beauty of form, texture, or color. And through arts, we are able to simulate unfamiliar environments, visualize a scene that no telescope or spacecraft will ever see. And just like Aisha has mentioned just now, she talked about emotions. Yes, so through us, we are able to elicit reactions and emotions that are not triggered by digital images. Okay, so these are the objects in night sky that inspired artists, musicians, poets to create something that is different from which is different, and it has its own uniqueness. Everyone, those who are creating something, they will have their own signature. So these are the things that has been inspiring them: the planets, the stars, from our galaxy, which is the Milky Way arm, the nebula, and even something that they can't see yet. That time back then, we still can't see the black hole, but they're already coming up with the theories and they're visualizing it through arts. So combining lights, which is space light, and arts, and some paintings started as purely abstract, and some paintings are inspired by cutting-edge research image. So throughout the process, going through the images together, the artist can develop a concept that can be used as springboard to make a unique design of each painting or artworks. Okay, throughout the process, scientific or artistic feedback continued to create result that conveys understanding of the subject matter. When artists and scientists join together to explore interests, they are led to mutual understanding and new perspective. So how do I use light as the main subject in my painting? So these are among the method that I use to express light in my painting, which is the first one is fluorescent and UV light. I also explore multi-wavelength images from Chandra X-ray telescope, Spitzer telescope, and also Hubble Space Telescope. I also express dynamics and motion in my paintings. I don't just see the object as the object itself. I imagine the motions and dynamics within the subject, and also how to connect the subjects with human emotions or events that has been happening around them. So this is the first artwork. Colliding Galaxies NGC 4038 and 4039, or it is called Antenna Galaxy. This painting, I use neon paints that emphasize the active region of starbirth. So as you can see, the center is, I use the yellow neon paint to express the oldest stars. Meanwhile, the blue and red stars, the blue stars are the younger stars. Meanwhile, the red stars are where the stars are born. So if you see through the visible paint, it doesn't really show much. But if you look at the fluorescent painting, it really shows the heat, the glow from the stars, as well as the movements. And this one is in the darkness, and I shine a UV light on the painting. I know it's not good, but I want to get the point across. So I sacrifice a few seconds for this picture. So multi-wavelength, as I mentioned, I look for images from Hubble telescope, Chandra X-ray, and Spitzer telescope, and some and other telescopes that can see in other wavelength of light, and I express it into a painting. So the image right here is actually the combination of 4 wavelengths: infrared, visible, ultraviolet, and X-ray. And how can I express those wavelengths in a painting? So this is actually, I combine with neon paint as well, just normal acrylic and also neon paint. But I didn't include a picture here. So if I shine the UV light, you can only see the infrared part. So I'm actually expressing certain wavelength
Are you there, Shahira? I think yes. I think her connection not stable right now.
Hello?
Yes,
I'm
we
so
can hear you.
sorry. Oh no.
It's okay. It's perfectly fine.
All right, I'm back.
Yes.
So I continue.
Yes,
Is
please.
it okay? All right, so this one is Pleiades. So as you can see in the picture, there are the nebulosity, and the star is actually called open cluster. So these stars are actually related, born in the same cloud of gas and dust. So I want to express those relations and the movements of the stars. Even though you cannot see it, uh, in the picture. You cannot see it because the stars are not moving. Not because they're not moving, because of our distance, and it's taking a long time for you to actually see them moving. If you can live up to thousands of years, you can see the change. But through my perspective, I know that they're moving, so I want to express it in my painting. So this is what I did. I followed the Van Gogh style, which he used the brushwork and dots to express the movements in his paintings, such as Starry Night. If y'all, if you are actually, you know that painting is very famous. So the Starry Night also emphasized on the movement of the whirling starlights and clouds. So that is what I'm trying to capture in my painting. And the other one is the artistic interpretation of Sagittarius A. So Sagittarius A is actually a region where black hole resides at the center of our galaxy, but we cannot see it due to the astronomical extinction. But you can see the effect of the black hole by looking at the dust clouds surrounding it. So what I want to express here is by making the movements of those dust clouds to the black hole. So you cannot see here because they're just dust clouds. But in my painting, I use the brushworks to express those movements. And lastly, I want to connect human emotions or things that has been happening around them. And this one is regarding dark sky awareness. As you know, that like pollution is spreading 2% every year. So this is getting very serious, especially to us humans, as well as the biodiversity. It's affecting all of us. So it's not just for those who are advocating in this awareness. It's also for everyone to know that light pollution has affected us and we are losing touch with the night sky. So in this painting, I created this kind of emotions that can be seen here in the city.
Yes.
You are
The
actually,
sky glow I can see, yes.
yes, the sky glow. So you are trapped in the bubble of sky glow, and this sky glow, only you are perceiving it because we're small, and we are the one who trapping ourselves in that sky glow by using light that spills into the night sky. Instead of pointing it downward, you just blast it and let it spill across the night sky. The Milky Way is still there. It's still there, shining and glowing majestically in the night sky, but you cannot see it. It's just you. But if you are moving somewhere darker, then you can actually see it again. The Milky Way is always going to be there, but you're the one who trapped yourself within that sky glow, that bubble. So with that, I also included a poem, because I also like to write poems. So when it comes to especially dark sky and light pollution awareness painting, always come with a poem, which I want to get people connected to the issue, and as well as the night sky, because some people, when they look at my painting, even though they don't know what it is, but when they look at a picture of Milky Way, they will tell me that thing, I saw it in this picture, it's the same like your painting. So I feel like they are actually connecting with the arts and night sky. So that's really that kind of touched me. So because even though one person, I can still actually reach out to them and tell them about the night sky. So how do I create my painting. The process begins with inspirations. I do a lot of readings, images, and just imagine, especially when it comes to the dynamics and motions. I have to imagine, I have to really imagine, how does it, if I want to express it like it's moving, how do I do it? What kind of brush strokes should I use? And also I will make sure that everything that I do in the painting can be related to science, and especially astronomy. In this context, astronomy. And I did rough sketch. I decide on composition, color harmony, and brushwork. And finally, the final work, I will make sure that I include scientific concerns and aesthetic response to the work. So the artistic element itself connected with the scientific explanations. That's all from me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I would like to ask you a few questions. Well, first thing, that you are actually using the real images and using their wavelength. That was very interesting, that using the same wavelength, like infrared, and especially the glow that you keep it in your mind should be appropriate and according to that percentage. Like, for example, it should not glow, like, for example, if you do it in a wrong way, it will actually create a wrong imagination of the night sky, or maybe the Milky Way galaxy, or anything that you're expecting. So this, how tricky it is, my question is, how tricky it is to make such kind of paintings when you're putting, because for me, I studied astrophysics. I always wanted to, I'm still in a process that how I'm going to paint the universe, because my interest is into art. And I always think, is it going to be the calculations that I've studied in my astrophysics, or is it going to be on the paint, on this painting, or like, or is it going to be the real images that we see in the night sky? So this is my question, that how you use it, because that should be very appropriate. If you use it in a wrong way, so it will miss the whole idea. Yes.
All right. So in my opinion, when you are making space art, there will be a few categories that you are doing it for purely for observation. And in my case, I'm doing it to express the object itself. And you can also do it for in abstract way. So you are kind of going back and forth. Like, you don't have to be so precise about it, because this is art, right? But still, I still closely refer to the images closely, and how I able to keep it close to the real thing is that I read about it. I keep on reminding myself that you want to make it close to the facts, as close as possible, but in the same time you want to make it attractive, you want to make it unique, you want to make it personal. So that's how I do it. I go back and forth between in making it personal and keeping it close to the scientific facts. And in the same time, I don't push myself. I don't push myself to do it exactly how it looks like, because that'll be like punishing myself. Because this is art. You are doing it for fun. You are doing it for your to share it with others, and you are doing it to explain to people your own perspective of this subject. So even if you don't get it completely right, then don't punish yourself over it, because you still have your justification. You can tell them, and you can still get back to the fact. You can tell your audience that this is what I base on, and this is my personal perspective on it. So you don't have to worry if it's not really accurate, because it's art and you just want to have fun with it.
Yes, because I made one pulsar during my university project. I made pulsar using oil paints, and it was really good. My teachers were really impressed, but for me, it was not satisfactory, because I was not portraying the right image through those colors that I use, because the what I said, the luminosity or the shine that we see in the images that normally we receive from NASA, or that's also a perspective of an artist, but that is now you are creating two perspective. For example, the dull one or the brighter one, from taken from the beautiful digital images to the oil paintings. It turned differently when you used, for example, it will change. But as you mentioned that art is fun, so yes, that's important. And apart from that, as you mentioned that you are also that you use your poetry in your art. That's very interesting, because Aisha also do the same in her artwork, as she did in the Dark Skies Gaze Back. So that was
Oh,
very interesting. Yes. So it was very interesting that she used such kind of uh, what I say, images that she used and represent through poetry. Uh, and we have two questions right now here. Where can we see more of your artwork? And are they for sale? Are you selling them? Or yes, how do we connect? Yes, because that was missing in your presentation, that how we connect with Shahira yes, because Shahira's artwork is so much famous on social media, as I have seen. Yes.
yeah, you can see my artworks on my social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. But mostly you can see it on Instagram, because like if I retweet something on Twitter, it will go down and eventually just disappear. You can't really scroll it back. It's too many things going on. And also you can follow my blog. I have a blog which I always update stuff about my arts and also my life as a space artist.
Yes.
And
So there is, yes. Yes, go ahead, go
for the
ahead.
question, one more question just now, Ryan, about selling the arts. Right now I'm doing it purely to express myself, to share about astronomy with others, and it's not for sale yet. I actually sold one painting, and then I was like, I felt kind of kind of a bit regret because
Yes.
I'm thinking about putting it on astronomy event exhibition in Malaysia, because the planetarium in Malaysia invited me to exhibit my paintings. So I have to keep it with me, and after that I will sell it. But in the future, I'll be producing art prints. So yeah, I'm looking forward to do that.
Excellent. So I have one more question from you. When you are advocating for the dark skies, how much impact your art pieces have created up till now? Because that's very tricky. If I see as a dark sky, people do not resonate themselves with the stars nowadays, because they can't see when they it's like the new generation, they haven't seen any Milky Way galaxy or anything like this in real life, and that's very difficult for them to connect. How do you see your artwork is actually connecting them to understand more about the astronomy? Yes.
So people nowadays, like you say, Ryan, they don't really resonate themselves with the stars because they cannot
Yes.
really see, especially those who are living in like polluted area. But I'm pretty sure everyone resonates with arts, because humans, they just love arts. They just love looking at it. It doesn't matter. Like everyone has their own opinions on certain arts. So if I can actually attract some people who are into my kind of arts, and then they're interested in it, and then they ask me what is it about, and they just say,
Yes.
oh, it looks beautiful, and I can share them about the message behind my art. So the way I approach people to get into to be aware about dark sky is through arts. So they will ask me, yeah, how did you see? How can you actually see this? Like, what is the meaning behind your art? So I'll be able to explain to them the message behind my art, especially regarding dark sky and like pollution awareness arts. I mean, well, for the astronomy, I try to I try to make arts on subject that people like, that I also like. I can't really do things that I don't like. It has to be
Yes.
mutual. Like, people like it, I also like it, so I will do it. So they will be fascinated, and they will. Usually, I get compliments because people look at my art, they just feel impressed about it. But in the same time, I included explanation of why did I created those arts. So while looking at them, they can take some time to read about it, so they are
Yes.
aware about it. Even though it doesn't have to be a lot of people that get something from my art. It doesn't have to be 50 people. It can be one person. I can influence one person and get them interested in astronomy and dark sky advocacy, because I have a few people who approached me and they wanted to know more about protecting the night sky and astronomy in general. So that's what and that's already satisfying for me. And also, I'm an educator. Of
Yes.
course, I inspired a lot of students to get into arts and astronomy. They're just, the kids, they like a teacher who can do anything. So I became that teacher for them. So they know that I love astronomy, I paint, I also know about the night sky, and they get very fascinated and inspired. So those
Yes.
kids, they also became the people who are interested in astronomy and dark sky advocacy, and that's what I'm trying to do for those kids as well. They are the future generations that are going to spread about light pollution and dark sky awareness. They are going to be the people who are going to protect the night sky in the future.
I think this is the best tool that you're using through art to inspire kids to advocate for the dark sky. That is very interesting topic that you have chosen, because as an artist, as also as an educator, that art is the way to connect everyone, and that's the best tool that you're using. And we had Michael also with us. He really loved your pieces, your projects. He is actually NASA art director and also member of IAAA. So I hope to see, he's mentioning in the chat box, I look forward to see more in the future. I hope to see all interesting project from Thomas, Shahira, Aisha, everyone, because you are the pioneers in inspiring kids, future generation especially. And Thomas, your work is super amazing when I consider myself, because it can, there's technology, there's science, there's an art. So there are a lot of
Thank you.
things are happening at once. At once
Yeah.
you see a complete new product, just like you are making an airplane for me, that you use technology, you use science, you use methods, you use light. So everything is there. So it took a lot of time, I'm sure, but the end result is brilliant. Like it should,
yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, yeah, that complexity is sometimes a burden and sometimes something that is really nice if it comes all well together, right? So yeah, I just saw a question popping up in the chat from Alvin. No plans for home-based art installation at the moment on my side, but let's say I considered it, I thought about it, especially since this is like one of the ways where you can like probably still yeah, reach your audience, even though there is no public spaces where they can like gather. But with my current project, this Slight Edge project that I want to develop, I'm kind of neglecting that at the moment and really concentrate on that. And like, but maybe during that process, I will explore some of these options, see if I can bring aspects of my work into like, yeah, like maybe into like an AR experience that you like download or something. That's definitely an something to explore, but I don't have like a concrete plan about it at the moment.
Yes. So any other question from anyone? I'm going to share one link where they will find the recordings later if they want to see. It's on the website www.cosmictea.org, and they will
I had a
find the
question,
recording over
actually.
there. Yes. So
I have
everyone who is, yes.
Sorry, I have a question to Thomas. So you mentioned that before this you work on traditional arts as well, or you call it analog arts, right? So what kind of arts you work on back then?
Well, I studied painting, so I was like, I mean, from like, let's say 16 to 26, I was very dedicated for like creating paintings, and I made this kind of like also canvas-based work. I mean, in the early days, paperwork mostly, but then at some point conquering the canvas with mixed approaches. Like acrylics and all sorts of paint, but not oil paint. I did not do oil paintings. I did that like briefly a few years later, but just like, yeah, that wasn't really my thing. And there I was, let's say, doing like bigger scale canvases, like from like 120 to 90 to like 360 by something 180, you know. And they were a mixture also between abstract and figurative ways of painting, and colorful kind of, and this like kind of like a little bit surrealistic. And I also had some sort of like at some point a little bit like made paintings where I had, you know, like created these kind of worlds, I would say. So there was a little bit also at some point it went into like taking an outer space perspective, so to say, on like a world. That kind of was it. And then I started, you know, doing performances, installations, all these things, and just wanted to have I just realized that my understanding of art was very limited, and that I should like reflect on that and try out other stuff to see how that changes my thinking about it, my practice.
I think you did the best job that you use more diversity in your artwork. Now you have more skills and tools to use and express in a better way. Yes.
And that's one of the things also where, you know, that at some point then obviously as a painter, you're mostly, I'd say in general, painters are mostly like solitaire workers, right? They sit in the studio or stand in their studio in front of an empty canvas, and then they have to fill that with something. And that can be frightening, but once you start, it's a really nice experience, especially when in the end something nice comes out of it. But in my approach then, when I I started a lot more like my paintings were a lot more emotionally driven. They were coming from like, I didn't have a plan that I executed. I kind of like let the paint do its thing. That's why I also work with color, water-based color and acrylics and stuff like that, to just get inspiration from the color and the paint itself, and then dive into that and formulate something here and another layer over that and another layer, and then just see what happens. But that was limiting. And then I started from, okay, I have an idea, I want to do that. How can I do that? And then what really opened up my own skills and stuff like that was also that the moment when I started to reach out to other people and incorporate like a more diverse set of skills and perspectives on a project, right? When you collaborate with like a scientist or a video artist or I don't know, like a musician, they have like different ways of thinking about your subject, because they have been trained to think differently about it. And when you like combine that, then really something can be added to your own work that you couldn't add yourself.
Yes.
Yes,
And,
I think
and
that is
one-
very, that's a very interesting thought that you just mentioned. And it's something that I was also thinking, that although, you know, working solely as an artist on a painting, you know, it's very satisfying, like internally, like you are in control, and you feel like, you know, your image belongs to you. But also at the same time, the idea of collaboration is very important at the same time, because you lose control, but at the same point, you are inviting other methods of thinking and other perspectives which you can never add. And I think that's the beauty of collaboration that you have experienced in your projects. But I think that it's very also, it's worth mentioning that, you know, today both of our guests had their inspirations from reality of astronomy or like science in some way, but at the same point there is this interpretation which is totally it's coming from the realm of imagination, or maybe I would say that it's a forward thinking or futuristic aspect that, you know, that we want to encourage, like considering we are representing this initiative from Cosmic Tribe. So maybe Ryan, we should actually think about having another session which can talk about this thing, that, you know, at one point Shahira is making these paintings which is evoking this imagination of motions, and, you know, how something which is still at a Hubble telescope image, and she's creating a motion which is not yet documented in any way. So I mean that imagination is as much important as taking science forward, because if we can't inspire people, then how can we take, you know, how can we think about research, innovation, and innovation in a way that what Thomas is addressing, that is very important, because, you know, we have to think about the visibility of images and how images are going to be produced in like next 10 years. So, I mean, yeah, I think today's session was very interesting for me in that sense, that, you know, it's talking about reality and illusion, you know, at the same time.
Yes. And especially, I would say that Thomas' artwork is actually the real representation of STEM in art. If you say the STEM in art is actually the correct word, because there is a technology, there is engineering, there is math.
I mean, that's why STEM was at some point altered to STEAM or whatever it was named, right? Because arts was included already. Someone figured maybe there's something missing, and yeah, I totally agree.
Yes, exactly. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I would like to have a small picture session together. Aisha,
Sure.
would you like to take a picture? So it's going to be memorable picture forever, I think. Yes. So, yes. 3, 2, 1.
Wait, let me just 3, 2, 1. Okay,
Another one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good to see you all. Stay blessed, and Eid Mubarak to Shahira and everyone who is celebrating, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Ryan. Thank you, Aisha.
Bye bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
Thomas.
Thank you all. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you those who joined us. Bye bye.
Bye bye.